Amazing. So I think we'll get started. For everyone who joins, always welcome. But for the ones who were so on time, we don't want to waste more of our precious time. So welcome everyone to today's masterclass with our very special guest and expert, Manuel Hartmann, CEO and founder from Sales Playbook. We will cover a very content that is very close to my passion topics. It's all about content and founder-led sales. And Manuel will share a bit more on how he managed to not only scale SalesPlaybook to what it is today, but also how he really managed to close deals with his LinkedIn strategy, focusing on quality beyond quantity content, or also how I like to call it very directly, like with no bullshit content, but relevant content that is important and valuable for his target audience. And he managed to really master that art also without any ad spend, really just focus on good LinkedIn content, and very, very curious to hear all of that. To give you a quick overview of what's happening in this next hour, we will first give a little intro and a little welcome from our side before Manuel will take over and give a little input about what he did with Sales Playbook, how his content strategy actually looks like on a LinkedIn optimized approach. Then we'll dive deeper in a little fireside chat where I prepared some tricky questions. And then it's time for your questions, and I hope you brought a lot of them. I will also check the chat in between, so if you cannot talk after in the Q&A session, I will probably also pick some of the chat questions, so feel free to drop them there. And also stay until the end of the webinar, because then you will get some goodies and probably some nice discount codes from us. So please stay, and I think we can get going. Manuel, something from your side that you want to add?
All great. Excellent preparation. Been in webinars like far less prepared by like 80%. So appreciate it.
Happy to hear. We'll do our best. All the best for community. Amazing. So quick welcome from my side. For the ones who don't know me, I'm Carmen, one of the co-founders and the CMO of Scripe. I've also been a content creator over 12 years, so I live and breathe content since the early days. I built my first startup to a community of over 40K users. Actually, tried a lot of things there, but the most successful approach there was also personal branding and working with successful personal brands. So I really felt more passionate with this topic, which then also led me to co-found Scripe, where we try to make this more scalable and accessible to everyone. We grew our community in the last year from 0 to 1,000 people. Thousands of people. Also, all of our current growth and website traffic only comes from LinkedIn. We haven't spent anything on ads or marketing. So we really try to be our own case study. I'm also a keynote speaker on the side, really focusing on the topics personal branding and community building, since, as I said, I'm very, very passionate about this topic. And since I kind of fell more into this topic, my motto and also our motto at Scripe was that people trust people, not brands. And I think that's also why we're here today. And just to give you a quick overview for everyone who is not a Scripe user in this webinar, what we actually do, very simply, Scripe is a workspace that knows you, manages your strategy, and writes posts that actually generate reach, high quality posts. And how we do that is we analyze millions of viral posts in your niche every day, and they're updated in real time. So we really know what is working best on the platform and what is matching with your style and your niche and your target audience. Scribe is then also connected to your LinkedIn account, so you can constantly see what works for you, how to optimize your strategy and your tone of voice. And then actually the gold part of it and the most fun part is to generate the post, because it takes you seconds. And just upload everything.
Ja, irgendwas, eine Kleinigkeit würde ich auf jeden Fall, oder was?
Mario, I will just mute you quickly. So everyone who comes in, please mute yourself. So how you can generate posts with Scripe is that you can just throw in everything that you have, whether it's a voice memo, a discovery call, a presentation, a random thought that you have on the way home from work. You can just upload it, and then Scripe will take all that input and your expert unique insights and transform it into posts in like literally seconds. So this is kind of what it does for you. And I think we'll get some more insights on how Manuel actually uses Scripe in his everyday content approach. And if you have any more questions on Scripe, then happy to answer them later on. But with that said, I would say I would give it over to Manuel. Also, funny story, how Manuel and I initially met is on the slopes in Switzerland. I remember this very well. And there he told me that his LinkedIn approach is actually, their sales playbook was a bit more in the beginning, is actually just posting no-bullshit content. And I think you leverage this very well. And after a couple of years, we're meeting now in this masterclass, and I'm very curious to hear your learning. So why don't you give a quick intro about yourself and then share a bit more about what you do with Sales Playbook and your content strategy?
Yeah, happy to. Very brief background. I think the CV is on there, like way better than I put it to you. Thanks for the polishing. I mean, what's relevant maybe from that side here? I think like we're in a trust crisis as in go-to-market in general, like in business. Like there's so much automation and AI bots, and so like even AI comments. Like people send me like calendar invites to scale business with AI for Sundays. So I don't understand. So the relevance of humanity in dialogue in business is much higher again, right? So I just got like a paid ad, like put 3 times from der Vertriebsson here with 2 followers, and it's like, hey, fill out this quiz and like I can help you with like $500. I was like, who are you as a human? Like, can I trust you? So in the end, it's about scaling trust. And I mean, like, what are we doing with Sales Playbook? Maybe on a note, like after ability from 0 to 30K monthly recurring revenue, so to say, played a bit pseudo then from like 300K to 1 million. And now we're just like legit B2B sales and HubSpot agency, helping entrepreneurs such as Beekeeper, Pleo, Bixio, Urban Connect, and like Emo Scout, a bit like, like typically 7 and 8 figure B2B entrepreneurs, which are really reliant on building and scaling trust as part of their business, as part of their pipeline generation, as part of their motion to close 5 and 6 figure deals, and as part to understand like what repeatably works best for them to generate, drive, and close deals and then expand them. And I think LinkedIn is just such a crucial component of the game as like the #1 business platform in the world. We have like more than 1.1 billion users. And sometimes people ask me like, Manuel, do you just have such a huge ego that you need like 31K LinkedIn followers and post like every week? There's always like, no, I don't care. Like I'm happy at my boxing gym where nobody knows who I am and like just punch each other in the faces. So, but as a business, as a marketing and trust channel, it's just unbeaten because it's like your 24/7 market stand. If you put out your message and even just like 10 people see it, like like even if like I get a post and it gets 1,000 views, like I'm slightly frustrated, a part of me. But then somebody else, so my question is like, how much effort would it have been? Like how much costs or time investment and energy would you need to put in to get the message you want at any given day across to 1,000 people in a trusted medium, like that directly relates to you and your founder-led marketing? I think personal brand is a bit tricky. It's not about like influencer, but like how much, what other channels do you have? Like paid ads, like cold email campaigns, which are harder, like paying like 5-6 figures to sponsor physical events or so. So it's actually really useful in terms of just being yourself and posting what you learn with clients, with customers, with your team, thoughts from yourself, because trust is essentially human. So yeah, a Sales Playbook, what are we doing there? Like it's basically like an all-bound engine, so mixing inbound and outbound sales on cold email, cold LinkedIn, supplemented by LinkedIn content. We write LinkedIn content as ghostwriters, so to say, including videos for people. We help them close deals. We help them with the HubSpot setup, and that's as much as I like to pitch on Sales Playbook. It shouldn't be about Sales Playbook. It should be really about also your question as part of this webinar. So feel free to put them in the chat anytime as well.
All right, you just tell me when to go to the next slide.
Can go ahead.
Good.
So I think that's sometimes people ask like pretty much every week, like, hey, I want to close this deal right now or like in Q1 2025, but like I get ghosted. Some people say like, oh, I will evaluate it internally, and like, yeah, it's too expensive, and like it just needs time, and I'll get back to you later. And it's rarely money about like in like the people that are we having here, like comment from Steffen Retze, by the way, like I am not seeing any slides. Like I see the slides on Scripe screen. Anybody else not seeing the slides? Slides are there from Michael Streit. Anybody else? Like, so we have like a democratic vote on if the slides are there or not.
Amazing. Everyone sees.
Simon sees them
Maybe
as well.
Stefan then just log in and log out
Yeah.
and in again.
But essentially it's about communication to people at scale in terms of like, what are the costs of inaction, of not fixing something? So it's very hard in 2025 to get a deal done in terms of, or even pipeline, even like a first call. You tell people like in the future, in 2027, like your business could be amazing. Like, well, I'm happy if I keep my job this year. Like I really have this fear of messing up to engage with a startup, engage with a new company, engage with a new service. If it doesn't work out, I might lose my job.
Ja,
I might
danke.
need to work weekends. I might need to do some other things. So this whole fear of missing out, like you missing out on AI, like, well, so I do it, it's fine. Like my like working with you, like whatever you do, like in here, like the 42 people who logged in, thanks for your time. Whatever you do means change for people, and change is risk, and risk is dangerous, and people hate dangerous things in like, especially like the current economy, because a lot of time, like in the past 4 years, they probably bought a service, a product, a SaaS solution, did a project, and it didn't fulfill the expectations due to user adoptions, also due to being specific to the client in terms of these things. So people will not tell you this. People will tell you like, oh, Galinde, let me evaluate it internally and get back to you. What they mean is like, the last person screwed me over, and it's nothing personal, but I don't trust you, people such as you in that space anymore. We see this in HubSpot, people have relatively high trust. And in like lead generation, pipeline generation, people have really low trust in just the ecosystem as such. So one thing that is always there in terms of content generation is like, how do you get it done? Like, how do you share the experience? And like, it's something all of us have, especially as CEOs, as founders, and where basically like AI really helps. I use Scripe for this, like, is with ideation and then to refine that manually. So for example, I record voice messages and put them to Scripe, or I like upload basically a video, like a client case study, and just put it to Scripe. And then it's like, hey, start, like, give me some ideas for hooks. Give me like your 6 best ideas for like the first line. Give me like post ideas of what to write, and then I refine it. I can directly schedule it, and then I publish it, because then it gets organized and it can basically batch these sort of things as well. And I basically see then also directly what works well, what does not work so well. So I mean, sometimes I think this post must be tremendously well, and then it really performs like 10x worse than the average post. And sometimes I just post something from a mobile phone and then it works really well. But I think it's really important to have these closed feedback loops. So when you write something, it's like, hey, this is what I think like is good. Like, can you give me like 6 options of what you think is good, based on like knowing my voice, my brand voice, based on knowing like all the other posts out there, based on you understanding LinkedIn algorithms in terms of structure. I think that the fallacy people have then is with LinkedIn content here is just like using Scribe, and then it's like, give me 6 posts, and that they schedule 6 posts, and then they're done. Like, oh, like it took me 5 minutes to write like 5 posts, and all of them look like AI with like these long hyphens and so on. And people see it from a mile away, because you put 0 time into adjusting them, into making them yours. Next one. So I think sometimes it's also people try to fix revenue, like sales, at the time when they send out the contract, right? It's like, hey, like I send out the contract in the selection phase, and the prospect asked me for a 30% discount. That's like, if your EBITDA is 20%, that's like -10, right? So you're doing an unprofitable deal. You're either doing like plus 20% EBITDA on that deal, or you're doing like -10. Depends on if you need to give a discount due to trust issues. So anything that you can do on the left side, on the awareness, education, selection phase, in terms of accelerating it in increasing demand and trust and velocity, helps you to then not give discounts, to close deals faster, to increase the deal size, to increase conversion cycle due to payment terms, to get better people into your funnel. So I think like pipeline is really like oxygen. Like without it, like you die, right? Like you cannot make money in business without a sales pipeline. And then obviously an underestimated part in this is also, do you get the right clients and customers into your funnel on the left side? Because customer success cannot fix, or key account management cannot fix retention and expansion if you just attract the wrong people, if you're not specifically clear and people come in with wrong expectations. And that's the usual fight, right? Like sales said, like I worked so hard to close this deal, and then customer success says, I'm really angry that you even closed this deal because you promised a lot of things in the awareness and education phase which are not even there. Like it's not an ideal customer. So why am I saying these things? Like just because I think I'm really smart and I studied at high scale, like I worked at Accenture, so I have some gray hairs now. Not really, to be honest, but it's really feedback that we get from all these amazing entrepreneurs that we have had the pleasure to work with over the past 6 years. And anytime somebody scaled sales really fast, like some really scaled from 0 to 1 million to like 5 million to 10 million in some cases within like a few years, and some did also not, quite frankly. And it was always about getting trust and message market fit right. And it was always also about iterating really fast. Like if you can learn within weeks versus quarters, that's determining how many iterations you can do. So I think that's really crucial to then understand, like, I mean, basically any one of these case studies here that you see on screen was like, look, before we understood like how to increase demand at will nearly, like it didn't really work because we had an amazing product, but nobody knows. And once we cracked that and became repeatable, it worked really well. And what also many of those said, like, hey, we hired a content marketer, we hired like an SDR, like sales development rep, we hired an agency, we did XYZ, but we did the company page, we did like the website, but like this term founder-led marketing, I think it's really important before you do 10 million in annual revenue. That also afterwards, like, I mean, Mark Benioff of Salesforce still has like a personal brand in terms of like founder-led marketing for the really important stuff. Really think of how you can leverage your person for business. It's not about your ego. It's really about like, it's a marketing channel, essentially. The thing we see all over again is like 95% of CXOs, CEOs, CFOs, chief revenue officer, chief sales officer, marketing officer, finance officer, they realize this. So like a lot of you might say like, yeah, I agree, like needs to be done, should happen, but they don't get it done. So, I mean, Silva in the middle, for example, he was in business for a decade and he's like, look, I just don't get it done. Like I'm a CEO, like I basically run a small company and I have so much to do. I don't get the capacity and the accountability to get it done. Next slide, next one. So I think here's just like a 7-step process, a simple one. I don't say it's easy to get it done every day or so, but if you have like a bi-weekly call, like a 30-minute call every second week, like every second Tuesday, 9 a.m., you have a call with somebody who's really used to podcasting. Like here in this picture, like our pipeline generation lead, Diego, does it with Silva, right? Somebody else does the buyer questions, records the interview, edits, trims the video, publishes the snippets, then basically like sets up the posts. It still needs to be you from like a content perspective. But I'm not a strong believer in ghostwriting in terms of like, well, just here's the space, just publish stuff for me. It's still my personal profile, it's still my trust. But a lot of it is also craftsmanship to a certain extent. Like how does LinkedIn work? How does a post perform? How do you assemble one? Great copy is not written, it's assembled, like many great copywriters say. So find the for you ideal balance to do these things yourself. If it's your strong suit, if you love writing, if you love creating content, versus delegating like 80-90% of the work and just showing up to be you. So that's just like one example of like, so that you get some ideas. So like in our case, like we write the whole concept for the posting framework, we do the whole session preparation, like the questionnaire and so on. We do the editing, the scheduling even, because in the beginning, like how it all started, we told people like, hey, look, here's how you can be successful on LinkedIn, and here's how we do it, and here's how other really even more successful people do it, or 10x more successful people than we do it. And people didn't do anything. And then we said like, look, here are like post templates pretty much that just are proved to work well over and over again. Like, why don't you use them and write your own version? And people didn't do it. Then we crafted the posts for them. And so like, please Control C, like copy paste this and press publish. And people didn't do it. So by now we actually schedule it on people's calendar and ask like, hey, like here are the posts, here's a 5-minute video walkthrough. Please let us know if this is fine. And then people say like, these 3 are fine. This one, please adjust. This 5th one, please delete. So it happens. So there really needs to be nearly an opt-out versus an opt-in for many people that it actually happens. But I mean, it's a very delicate balance in terms of like, do I feel comfortable enough being uncomfortable that my personal brand goes out there, like this content will appear on my profile and it will remain there for a long time. Are there any questions so far?
I don't see anything in the chat. I already have a lot. So I think we'll make this slide and I think then we'll.
Yeah, that works. And otherwise it's first come, first serve. So feel free to at any time, just put your questions to the chat. That works. And then we'll finish like basically the very specific examples, because with this sort of session, like very often is like theoretic lectures, right? And this is LinkedIn and it's a big platform and there's carousels and text posts and so on. So we try to make this really hands-on. A lot of times people are afraid to put out the what, right? They say like, I cannot put out this. Like for every single one of those, like I got like 10 direct messages like, Manuel, are you stupid? Why do you post this? This is so much value. This is essentially why you get paid, right? I was like, yeah, I thought the same earlier on, and we used to sell the templates and so on, like, and it's valuable. But honestly, like 2% of people actually do stuff with it, like they implement it, and it's really good. Like if sometimes people took these assets and they write me a year later, like, hey, this guide was amazing. Like we built outbound from 0 to like 1 million in ARR, and now we need a CRM. Can you please help us? Or we need to get to the next level on marketing side. Hey, here are the templates. Like, okay, we get it on the market segmentation. We know the segments. Can you help us validate them really fast because our head of marketing quit? So my advice would be like build in public to a certain extent, what the fancy term for it is, but share the what you do, and people will come back and say like, okay, like I get the what. Thank you. You understand it really well. Like it's really helpful. I don't have the focus, time, and energy and personal resources to get it done myself. Can you please help me? And I just had this dialogue yesterday with like our HubSpot lead, and it's like, hey, it's amazing that you wrote like an 80-page HubSpot implementation guide. May I share it in like a video, like a sneak peek? And it's like, no, you cannot share it. People will screenshot it and then it will open a HubSpot agency and be competitive. It's like, nah, not what will happen. But okay, like let's take the decision that my snippet needs to be like less than 60 seconds and not disclose like non-public information. And it's a mentality to business and value, I think.
Absolutely. And I just checked the question.
First question, applause mentally to Michael. So yeah, what's your opinion?
Your opinion on lead magnets? Like one on the left, is it still something for 2025?
It is still very much something for 2025. I think it's much more something for 2025 than asking like for like, hey, I give you an Amazon voucher if you spend 30 minutes with me on a demo, because it demonstrates value and demonstrates capabilities. And I think the thing that will go away a bit, like what we now see, that everybody that finished a bachelor's degree halfway through at 21 has this like, how I book 80 calls per day, like without doing any work with AI. And it's just like not credible anymore if you have like these people popping up left and right, and everybody seems to have figured out like how to fill the pipeline. And everybody every serious entrepreneur knows how hard it has become in 2025. And it's a bit of a race to the bottom on the outbound side. So we just like polishing basically the new guide, like the pipeline generation guide for B2B entrepreneurs, because pure outbound is just really hard.
Agree. And also to Michael's questions, I think it's in times when you're so overflowed with information and like things you can download and you can ask ChatGPT anything. Having something like this, for example, from Manuel, if I was just looking for something like how do you actually scale efficiently, and I know that Manuel has done it a million of times, I would much rather download something from him and then maybe get back to him on a question or on a follow-up request than looking all over ChatGPT or Perplexity to find the perfect template. So it has so much trust and even more value in times of where you have just more availabilities of all that information. So yeah, a lot of so many great insights here. And until the next question pops up,
Just
I
did.
have there's already one. How often do you post and how long does it take? Does it take per post on average?
I post 4 to 5 times a week. So Wednesdays, that days. Sometimes I just don't want to schedule something because I typically post something and just like do not comment, or like if Matteo's like asleep or so maybe. But otherwise, like how long does it take per post on average? I think the post is just a distribution channel, right? So it might take me 10 hours to like might take me 100 hours to create all the foundational templates, but then they're already there. It's a matter of distribution. If I can scale positive impact, scale value here. The average post to write, like the text basically, by now it takes me like 5 to 10 minutes, I'd say. Sometimes less, depends. But that's also after like posting consistently like at least 4 times a week for like 2 years. So that's like 4 times 50 times 2. Like that's like across like 500 posts. So I've been in cars from like an event, such as Bits and Pretzels and so on. So like, hey, let me briefly like write a LinkedIn post for today. And they're like, yeah, but we only have like a 5 minute cab ride. Like it takes me like half an hour. Like, well, how many times have you done it? Like, well, never. It's like, well, I've done it 400 times. And anything in life, you get better and faster over time.
Absolutely agree. And I think like maybe going a bit back to like for all the people who are here in this masterclass thinking, yeah, like I'm at this point, I know it's important and I want to get started and this is all amazing and I want to get to 400 posts. How did you do it in the very beginning to find out what is actually relevant content for your target audience? How did you do this kind of testing iterations and adapting really fast?
I think I wasn't really adapting really fast in the beginning. Like, I'm still amazed by the stat of like 2024 is like that was like 1,100% higher engagement and views than the year before, right? And I did it for a while. In the beginning, it was really unstructured. It's just like this comes to my mind and I post it. And then getting analytics tools and like Shield, that was before Scripe times, or now Scripe, to really see like what works well, what doesn't work well, to look at other creators like which are much more successful than me. It was like, oh, interesting. Everything the person does gets like 500 likes, but which one gets 5,000? Which one gets actually useful engagement? Who engages, right? And then I think it's also the realization a while ago, like 2 years ago. So like it's not about likes or engagements or comments. It's really I much prefer a post with like zero engagement where I get, I don't know, the CEO of Beekeeper writing me is like, that post was really cool. Can we work together? So it's still about like it's still business, right? Or someone just sends like, hey, that post changed my life because it allowed me to speak about dementia or like about my personal struggles. So that's also really powerful, like on a personal level then. But it's not about engagement, it's about like value and in business. And then the really structured approach is once you become much more specific around like what are the can I briefly share the screen? Does that work?
Yeah, should work.
So once we started being much more specific around like, hey, look, we have like 3 business units. We have like the pipeline generation unit, we have basically HubSpot services, which we have revenue enablement, which is a bit of a mess. It's like running 3 agencies in one, but it's very useful for clients because they need all 3. So what are the top problems we talk about? What are the solutions we talk about? What are some case studies we talk about? What is fact-based messaging around that? Like finally, like managed to rebuild our website to that, and then just being really specific around what are the key value drivers, what are basically the use cases, what are the challenges, like what are the solutions, and that's the hard work, right? Like that's really like sitting a few evenings down on like what are the actual challenges and use cases per unit and so on, and like how do you actually help? How do you get the messaging across? That's the hard work, where the post itself is just like a channel, and then you can basically put that in and basically go to Scribe and basically say like put that in and say like give me like a hook on that.
Yeah, I think also what works really well also to the question that Michael just asked, what would be the first three steps for people who haven't started their LinkedIn game, is really to first think about like, why are you on this platform? What is actually your purpose? What is your offer and USP, and who is your target audience? And then what are kind of the key questions or problems you solve for this target audience? So it's on a much deeper level
Yeah.
than posting something on LinkedIn. So for example, I always ask myself, what are the three most asked questions I get from our users? And I try to answer those questions in like posts, in templates, in case studies, in examples from like how I work with other clients. And these are just the things that are also interesting for our target audience. And I kind of want to answer them the questions that they already have, so they gain trust and credibility. So I think it really starts with this assessment: what are my values and what can I give to my target audience to answer their questions?
Yeah. Plus one on what Carmen just said, and Michael. I mean, contextual. I mean, let's not lie, right? I mean, like some people start basically, they ask me like, hey, what shall I obsess over the content structure of like video versus picture and so on? Like, look, you have like 500 LinkedIn followers. Just whatever you do, like it will just be less people seeing that than it just invested 500,000. So invest into your ICP network expansion. There's tools for that. Like you can set it up in a way like, please write me a direct message on LinkedIn after this if you're curious about it. But I mean, get from like 500 to 1,000 to 2,000 followers, whatever, because like it will just amplify your reach. It's like shout louder for the ones in the back, which just have more voice. And the second thing is get something which helps you become consistent, like social accountability, physical accountability, whatever it is, to post like 1-2 times at least a week. Like, I mean, it's like in sports, right? I have like my workout routine is like a minute to a day, like 100 push-ups, 25 burpees. It takes me like 2 minutes. And then someone else like, why don't you take 50 minutes and do this whole shebang around the calisthenics? Like, I know that I'm not going to do 50 minutes every day. Like if Matteo wants to fall asleep and then I fall asleep with him, or I work late or whatever, I'm not going to do 50 minutes every day. It just will not happen. So take something like that's realizing you're not rising to your potential, but you will fall to your minimum viable system. And like think for yourself, Michael, what's the minimum viable system? Or like I will wake up every Monday at 8 and I just block half an hour and will post once. Everything else is bonus. Do that for a month. And then it's like, okay, now I do Monday. Let's add Thursday. Let's add on top.
And also, like what you said, an accountability partner can help a lot. That's what we also see when we onboard teams. Like I always tell them, find your content body and then just block something in your calendar every week or every other week to create content, to discuss content, to like give each other some inspiration. And this has helped me and our team and like so many people that have started with that a lot. And will definitely, like everyone who is in this call could be a potential content body.
Like in sports, like in nutrition, like in music. Just one question much earlier that Paz actually just put it only to me. Like, did you test VSL, like video sales letter funnels versus lead magnet funnels recently? What worked better in B2B for your clients? Both works. What we see is video sales letters typically a bit lower down the funnel. So we experimented with even outreach campaigns, like cold email campaigns with like really detailed, like 2-3 minute video box or even a personal video. And it just felt a bit like in the German-speaking region, at least my hypothesis is it feels a bit intrusive to people. Like it's too much too early. It's like if I go to Carmen in a bar, like I hope that's okay, like politically, and we know each other. In a sense, like I would go to the bar and to Carmen's like, I watched you for the last 2 hours and I saw you had a gin tonic an hour ago and a beer like half an hour ago. And then I saw like you take your gin tonic with like a cucumber and you had a Hendrix. So here's a Hendrix. Like that's creepy. Like we didn't speak. Like, can you just walk up to me as like quick question? Is the gin tonic any good? And be human. So don't overextend yourself like in terms of like here's a 20-page PDF. Like here's everything I learned about you. Like just create value, like familiarize people with you and then go deeper over time.
Yeah, very much agree. There is one question, and I love that Stefan, just please go into the chat. He just asked if someone wants to be his LinkedIn content buddy for a weekly call. I love that we are already content buddy matching here. So one question I also like, and I feel a lot of people have, is like, how do you really figure out what works? Simon asked, I feel it's still a bit random if I post and the post takes off or not. How do you figure out what works?
It's very random to a certain extent. Like sometimes people are like, yeah, my reach just got caught by the algorithm. What do I do? It's like, you just keep doing you. Like, it's okay. So I'll show you like a few examples. You can see my screen now, I think, right?
I can, but wait, maybe I have to stop it. Now try again.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
Just
we can
say
see
yes,
it.
no. Cool. So the easiest way to see like if it works or not, like you can go and post impressions here, and then you can see like past 7 days or like past 365 days. And then
Or you could do that in Scripe.
I know, but like just for the people who don't have Scribe yet, like really like right now, just go there and like for me it's like 1,000% increase over the past 365 days. And you see like some posts like it just like got 100,000 impressions on one day, and the next one then like still feeding off of that, and then it's back to the usual like 10,000 like average posts or so. And then you actually see here what are the top performing posts, and you can just go in. It's like, okay, let's just take that post and post it later again. Like I could literally go in and select take that post and just play it 5 months later ago. If basically Taylor Swift plays a song half a year ago and she plays it today again, nobody gets angry. People still ask like, can you take a post from 6 months ago and post it again? Yes, you can. People will forget really fast. And the funny thing on like sometimes people ask like, is it pictures, is it memes, is it text, is it like whatever? Here's a picture post, and I attributed it to not a creator like the visual. Here's like a cold email post. Here's a pure text post. Here's a video post. Here's like a carousel post. Here's like a political post. Here's like a selfie post. Here's an outbound guide post. Here's like something else, and it all works. And
And it really shows that you don't only, I get this question so much, like does LinkedIn only work with selfies? It does not. You can like make it really yours. And there are so many great examples of profiles that are not using any pictures of themselves if you don't feel comfortable with it. They really work well, I agree, but it's not only about having pictures, it's actually about creating value. I think that's
very much. And I think here in Scripe, just to add to that, I mean, for example, got like Eric also said like, hey, look, I'm HubSpot lead. Basically, like I understand what I need to do this. Like I'm an introvert person, but like, okay, let's go deeper on that. And then you can basically go in and say like, look, what are the analytics? Basically, pretty much in real time in Scripe. This is live demo, so it's making me a bit vulnerable, right? It shows you how bad things have become like last week because I don't understand LinkedIn. But you really see over like 30 days, 3 months, it just gives you much deeper analytics of how many followers you added, like what's the engagement over time, what's basically the top posts and so on. What are the optimal posts for your timing? I typically post between 8 and 9 a.m. and you see this visualized. So I think it's just much more useful in terms of seeing engagement rate and so on, these sort of things. Because LinkedIn honestly is like a terrible product in many extent, and LinkedIn Sales Navigator works, but it's really useful. I think this is actually a useful product and like a beautiful product compared to LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Thank you so much. One question I have on also really testing whether a post works or not. You also said it's not only about impressions and likes and reach. Like, how do you track your inbound DMs or like people who are maybe reaching out to Sales Playbook because they saw you on LinkedIn? Is there anything you use to do that?
There's two fundamental options, and it's an excellent question we get from a lot of marketing people nowadays. Like this marketing saying like 50% of what I do works, I just don't know which one. There's this really complicated pirate funnel, HubSpot marketing hub professional enterprise funnel building stuff. But the reality is people come from more than one source, right? So we ask at the last step of our assessment. So it's like 18 steps, takes like 3 to 5 minutes to fill out. Feel free to do so. We ask like, how did you get here? This is how I got here. And then people typically say like, saw Manuel at the conference, then spoke to Eric on HubSpot, and then saw a LinkedIn post on Zero, which gave me the final shot to book a call. So it's multivariate typically, and it's don't obsess over attribution. Like I know people running 9-figure businesses or 100 million plus, and it's like, I do zero attribution. I'm just committed to create as much value as possible. And I believe that if I create, for every 10 million in value I create, I will capture one eventually.
Yeah, I think that's, and also just like sticking to it. And if people start telling you, oh, I saw you on LinkedIn, or I saw this on LinkedIn, or they even send you a DM, but I think it's important to know that it's not always a direct inbound message, like people waiting after, okay, I posted now, where is my DM? Like it's not going to work like that, but it's like it's built over time and it compounds over time.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, is also maybe a bit frustrating in still remaining consistent. But recently, like client that invested about 80K now with us, like 40K in the first collaboration, and worked with us 6 months and still works with us. I mean, he wrote me a LinkedIn DM like, Manuel, we need to urgently speak. So sounds like a really bad outreach. Like, oh no, I have like 9 calls today, like, and I want to play with my son, whatever. And like, no, we don't need to urgently speak. And it's like, I'm really happy. I've been following your content since a year, and I love it. And I've been to your summit, and I'm unhappy with my marketing agency. Can I join you? I was like, phone number, money? I was like, yeah, I have like 50K. Like already spent 10K. I can get out of the contract. Can I give you the other 40? I was like, okay, sounds good. So the sales velocity was like a week. Like it was literally a first day, and he signed like 40K next Friday. After a year, I didn't know the person exists. Been a very loyal client. Like, and we see this all over again. Like that the customer acquisition costs are really low, even for like mid 5-figure deals at like 1 or basically 2 calls. Like first call, pipeline launchpad, whatever it is, like regarding the service, and then decision call, and person's like, yes, I already trust you. I don't need to look into terms and conditions. I don't need like 2 competitive offers. I don't need to know your whole team. I just trust you because I feel I know you so much of you already, and you've been consistent.
Yeah, absolutely agree. There is one question also in the chat. I have a personal LinkedIn account and a branded company LinkedIn account. What do you suggest to use? And how do I do that in Scripe? I can answer the Scripe question in a second. And I also have a very clear opinion on that, but what is yours?
Personal LinkedIn account all day. It's just like, it's a social network still. It's a business social network, and people buy from people. And you see this like from very small companies, like smaller startup like that has 10 LinkedIn followers on the brand and like 1,000 on the person. And you see this with basically Mark Benioff. Salesforce has been running ads for a long time, and it has been getting 10 likes, 20 likes, whatever. And then Mark Benioff, as CEO and founder of Salesforce, puts out the post, and it gets like suddenly like 5,000 engagements. So it's just like, it's a human platform, and humans just do 10x better.
And also in general, like I think they get 8 times more reach than company posts. They're not favored by the algorithm. You don't see company posts in your feed except they're like sponsored. So that's also why we don't do it in Scripe. Like you can only connect your personal account, and we'll create personalized posts that are like very individualized to you. So yeah, double down on personal content.
Yeah, because LinkedIn lives by selling recruiters expensive memberships and charging salespeople for a navigator, and selling lots of ads to lots of companies. So like now they have for leadership ads, so you can sponsor personal posts, and so they drill down personal reach a bit, so they can sell you ads to boost it up again. But I mean, like, always think about the incentives of the platform.
Yeah, exactly. One question from Birgit: what is your experience with scheduled posts, more or less successful? I personally don't feel any difference.
I don't feel any difference. Like it's hard to tell, right? Even if like 200 posts a year, but like sometimes people, I feel it's becoming this excuse for people to not put in the work and schedule it, because like, oh, like I heard there's like a 30% reach cut. It was like, well, there's a 100% reach cut if you don't get it done, you know? So yes, if you can, like, you cannot, I didn't find a way across like 7 tools or so to tag people, just companies. LinkedIn, I don't know, Carmen, maybe you have a secret hack there, but also in Scripe, in any other platform, you can only tag companies if you put it there. You can technically schedule them live on LinkedIn, but then it gets messy, like which posts, when, and so on. If you can,
this is a limitation of the LinkedIn API. Like they don't share the personal links. That's why we cannot integrate the tagging in Scripe, and also no other platform can do it. Maybe that will change at some point, but how I usually do it is also like schedule the posts where I don't tag any people, and for posts I just leave them in draft mode and then post them live.
Yeah.
Or edit it afterwards.
But the key message is don't obsess over pictures versus PDFs and video versus GIFs and like schedule versus non-schedule or 8:30 versus 8:45. Just do it and just stay consistent. It's like going to the gym and worrying which shorts you're gonna carry and if the shoes are ideal and if the weather is ideal and if like your form is ideal. I mean, just go.
The form should be good. But yeah, like the input and the context should be good. So more
Your form is
questions.
gonna be terrible when you start, but you need to start to get better in your form.
That's absolutely true. How do you accelerate the message product market fit?
That's a broader question, right? Read
Good
this.
one.
Read this.
I could
490
give you
pages.
some more details if you want
Please.
to. Yeah, sure. I'm basically a consultant. So usually in the last years, I was doing a lot of stuff for a lot of companies and have a lot of experience, which is great. But on the other hand, it's kind of hard to narrow it down to a service offering that is actually specific enough to get some tractions. And I know that it is a trial and error process, and I was wondering if you have any insights or ideas how I can accelerate that to get faster feedback and understand, okay, what's actually working with my potential clients.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is what we do all day long. So you scratch the niche there. I mean, I hope it's okay, Carmen, if I share just some value, like
Please.
zero commercial, on what I just shared in the chat here. Still this message market fit playbook. We use it frankly with all clients. So what are the market segments where you can be most successful? I'll go through this like fast forward. I hope that's okay. I can press pause in the recording. So like what are the 10 factors? Like how are they weighted, right? I mean, the first is like, do people need it? Because if nobody needs it, your market size doesn't matter. Like how many are there? Like what's the pricing potential? You can shortcut this a bit like with a SPA method, like size, price, accessibility. Like, okay, there's 300 startups with 0 to 2 million that can invest 50K a year with us and we can reach 80% of them. There's even more scale-ups actually, and they invest, let's say, the same amount, and then it's going to be corporates, which are 500, and there's like 250K, 5 times higher investment. What's the market size? And then go deep on like the copywriting for your companies, go deep on like the red stuff, especially like basically costs of inaction and so on for the persona, write like a whole story of like problem solution, concern handling, testimonials, and so on. Do this stuff. And then, I mean, like here of this ebook that I wrote a while ago, I think like page 5 to basically 36 are going to be useful of like how you can think about ARR as an equation and make sure no variable is zero, because otherwise the equation is zero. Like how can you do the problem solution fit? How can you have buyer persona plus company? How can you have channel? Like it's email. Sometimes people say like, yeah, but sending letters is not hyper scalable AI automated. But like, well, it gets 100% opening rate with public services. So the message needs to be good, but the timing is always on, channel always works. The trust is there. So go through this stuff here. Drop me a direct message, jump on a call. There's a lot to do basically here. I hope that was okay to hijack this for like 2 minutes. And
I think it's a great asset that like probably a lot of you could use or just read through and adapt it. And also I think in terms of message market fit, like it's how we structured it and Scripe is having like this content pillar framework. So you want to look at your company and your USP from like different perspectives, and also like giving different insights from an educational level. So why are you an expert? But then also very much what Manuel you do a lot is on the business internal side, like what you use for yourself, what you use with your clients, and just what you said in the beginning, like giving away as much value as possible comes always with stuff that have worked for you and not just pinpointing in terms of do this to reach this, but more kind of I did this and I reached that, so you can take it or leave it.
These are the best stories because they're genuine, because they're real, because they're trustworthy.
As I like to say, document, don't teach. It's kind of the approach.
Yeah, and just do like put your money where your mouth is in less friendly terms, right? If you ever get somebody wanting you to invest money, just ask the person, okay, thank you very much for the investment advice. Show me your portfolio. You can stop talking now. Just share me a screen. Where's your money? I don't invest in stocks because they're risky. But you're telling me to buy a lot of stocks. So I put them in an ETF fund, like because it's very long term. I kind of started to forget, and the fees are really low. Like, well, then I'm gonna do the same as you, right?
Yeah, and also Simon just asked, better to fight through the spreadsheet or start with the book first?
Book first.
One really wants to learn. Book first. Amazing. All right. So I think we have time for one more question before we jump to the goodies. Any more questions? Also feel free to just speak and raise your voice. Any questions? Or leave them in the chat. All crystal clear and all ready to post more and to finally stay consistent and maybe even having a content body. Alrighty, so I would just jump to what we have for you. I mean, Q&A has been kind of the whole time. I think I really
This, by the
like
way, is the moment when you're in a sales call and you finish the demo, the presentations, the pitch, and you ask, are there any more questions? And everybody's silent. Just ask, like, okay, so this means like I can just put up the DocuSign, like put 50K on it, and you're gonna sign it right now. And then people are gonna come up with like, okay, like here's the 7 things that need to happen before this.
One more question. So no more, I mean, we're also a bit there then after the call, so you can always ask. So what we have for you, maybe Manuel will want to go first, then I can go.
Yeah, happy to. We've thinking for a long time around like what's the ideal format to just like maximize value creation and still like help people, because people typically say like, tell me what Sales Playbook does and blah, 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 give me a demo. But we don't want to do that because we want to really help people craft a hands-on execution schedule on how you can increase awareness and trust and demand and pipeline quickly without 6-figure mistakes. So what we offer here is just like scan the QR code, jump on a 90-minute call with one of our top consultants. And this will not be like, this is Sales Playbook about ourselves, but about your company, about how to implement these things which we discussed for you specifically. And then you can either run away and say like, this was useful, thank you, I'll go and implement, which makes us happy. Or you can also then say like, hey, can you please figure out like how we could work together on this? Because I don't have a head of marketing. I don't have like 10, 15 hours a week to get this done.
Can very much recommend it. Is there a question? Any chance to get a discount after I booked the professional version yesterday for a year? Of course. Of course. Worries. So thank you, Martin. So what you can get from the Scribe side is, and actually this would be a perfect combo if you first go on a call with Manuel and then you jump to Scribe. So we want to give you a little bit of an experience with Scribe and a 20% discount actually on our professional yearly subscription with the discount code Masterclass. So in total you will save almost like 100 euros. And we just said we usually don't give away discounts for the yearly offer, but this time I think it's something, if you really want to stay consistent, you just sign up for 1 year and then you also like make yourself more accountable. The offer is valid until Sunday, so you can still like think about it. You can sign up for free anyway. There are free credits for you to use, and then you can decide until Sunday if you want to go for it. Yeah, level up your LinkedIn game. Ideally with the perfect message to market fit from Manuel. Amazing. So I will just leave this here for a second and we will stay here a little bit for some more questions. If somebody wants to, has still a question left or something came up, please feel free. And otherwise you will get the presentation, you will get the recording after this call so you can binge watch it and learn everything until you know it by heart. Thank you so much everyone for joining and for the interactive session, for the questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Bye.
too. See you around. So I'll just stop the recording. Thanks everyone.